Cats in ancient Egypt were treated like royalty, protected by law and mummified when they died. But why? What made these animals so special to one of the most powerful civilizations in history? It helps to start with the practical reasons. Around 10,000 years ago, wild cats began wandering into early farming villages. Why? Because where there were humans storing grain, there were rodents. And where there were rodents, there were cats. They didn't need to be tamed. They essentially domesticated themselves. Cats were a highly effective, zero-cost pest control service. But the Egyptians' relationship with cats went far beyond mere utility. They were fascinated by the animal's duality. As any cat owner knows, a cat can be a cuddly, purring companion one minute and a fierce, independent hunter the next. The Egyptians saw a reflection of the divine in this. These qualities were directly linked to their most powerful gods, particularly the goddesses Bastet and Sekhmet. The goddess Sekhmet, depicted as a lioness or a woman with a lion's head, represented the fierce, protective, and sometimes destructive forces of the sun. She was a warrior and a healer. Bastet, on the other hand, was often depicted as a domestic cat or a woman with a cat's head. She was the goddess of home, fertility, childbirth, and protection. Sekhmet was the ferocious power of nature. Bastet was the gentler, protective aspect. They were two sides of the same coin. Because Bastet was so beloved, her followers believed that all domestic cats carried a bit of her divine energy within them. This is why cats were so highly venerated and protected. This deep respect was expressed in daily life in many ways. Killing a cat, even by accident, was a crime punishable by death. In many homes, cats were cherished members of the family, sometimes adorned with jewelry like silver earrings. They were often shown in tomb art, sitting under their owners' chairs or hunting birds in the marshes. The reverence for cats truly became a phenomenon with the popularity of the cult of Bastet, particularly around 1000 BCE. The city of Bubastis became the center of her worship, attracting hundreds of thousands of pilgrims. People would travel there to offer mummified cats to the goddess in the hopes she would answer their prayers. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus visited Egypt around 450 BCE and wrote about the Egyptians' intense devotion to cats. He claimed that if a cat died in a house, the family would shave their eyebrows as a sign of mourning. He also wrote about a famous story from the Persian invasion of Egypt in 525 BCE, where the Persian king, knowing the Egyptians' reverence for cats, released a horde of them onto the battlefield. The Egyptians were so terrified of harming the animals that they surrendered. Truth or legend, it shows how powerful this belief was. The demand for cat mummies was so high that it became a thriving business. Priests at Bastet's temples ran breeding programs to supply the demand. X-rays of many mummies reveal they were young kittens, often killed by strangulation, bred specifically to be offered as a votive to the goddess. This contradiction, revering an animal on one hand while sacrificing it for religious devotion on the other, was a very practical expression of their religion. They weren't worshipping the cats themselves, but the divine power they believed they held. In the end, the ancient Egyptians didn't worship cats. The cats themselves weren't gods, but they were believed to be sacred vessels that held the essence of a goddess. They were protectors, companions, and symbols of divine power. So the next time your cat gives you that look, remember, it's an attitude that's been perfected over thousands of years of being treated like royalty.